Though I did become crestfallen in the sight of my Lord, my rival too did not regain honor. The above differential development drove Satan to madness. He openly announced to Allah that in spite of his solicitude for the human beings, he would take over a determinate number of his slaves and he would make sin in his appearance seductive to them. Verse number 39, Surah Al-Hijr. And surely thereby he would mislead them and inspire them with the false desires. 118 and 119, Surah Al-Nisa. With this program in view, he set out to blast the mankind on earth. Thus did the confrontation start between Hazrat Adam, the apostle of Allah, his wife and progeny on one hand, and their sworn enemy Satan or Iblis, the powerful jinn cursed by Allah, on the other hand. The latter's war cry is revenge. Take revenge from him, O universe. Allah knew that the man was inherently a weak creature. He also knew his past history relating to his life in paradise, where, in spite of the celestial conditions, he could not resist for long the wiles of Satan. Though the latter has no physical power over the men, yet his powerful seduction is almost irresistible. He exercises it through creations of vain desires, misrepresentations, and blandishments. Satan makes promises to them and fills them with the vain desires, and Satan promises them not but delusion. Verse number 120, Surah Al-Nisa. Sometimes he arouses in them passion to an uncontrollable extent. An average man cannot see through the Satan tactics and is therefore easily misled. That is how he worked on Hazrat Adam and his wife. He fanned in them the desire for immortality, and thereby he made them agree to his plan. Accordingly, it was quite clear to Allah that unless guided and helped by him, the man was no match for Satan. He therefore took perceptible interest in his cultural and spiritual evolution. He decided upon the appointment of prophets to guide mankind on the right lines. Hazrat Adam was taught certain fundamentals of faith, and he was appointed as the first apostle. Allah gave him a rudimental oral constitution based on the pristine monotheism for his guidance as well as that of his wife and progeny. Verse number 122, Surah Taha. Then Allah chose him for his grace and turned to him with mercy and guided him. Verse number 36, Surah Al-Baqarah. And for you there is an abode on earth and a provision for time. Verse number 37, Surah Al-Baqarah. Then Adam learned from Allah certain words of prayers. Verse number 36, Surah Al-Baqarah. If there comes to you guidance from me, then whoso shall follow it, on them shall come no fear, nor shall they grieve. Verse number 39, Surah Al-Baqarah. But whoso will disbelieve and treat our signs as false, they shall be the inmates of fire. Therein shall they abide. Amplified the constitution implied that out of divine grace and mercy, Allah appointed Adam and his apostle on earth, and he gave him guidance. Allah arranged provisions for all mankind on earth. Adam and his wife and their progeny shall worship Allah, the unique in the manner taught to them. They shall stay on earth for a prescribed period and then return to Allah. While on earth, they shall use the knowledge and guidance imparted to them by Allah to distinguish the right from the wrong and then follow the right and avoid the wrong. Guidance shall continue to be given to the humankind, and if necessary, signs will supplement it. On their death and return to Allah, the mankind shall render account to Him of their performances on earth. This shall be done on a mass scale on a scheduled day. Those persons who discarded the divine guidance and disbelieved Allah's signs shall be marched off to hell. This brief constitution was the first of its kind, and it constituted the basis for the later constitutions. After Adam's death, there was no other prophet till the time of Hazrat Nuh. In the meantime, monotheism degenerated and gave place to idolatry and polytheism. After the disastrous deluge during the days of Hazrat Nuh, that part of the world where it had occurred and rehabilitated by the survivors of the deluge of the companions of Hazrat Nuh in the ark. Spiritual conditions remained satisfactory for some time, but the degeneration again started and gathered momentum. To stem it and to reform people, Allah sent prophets in succession. Now that each prophet was given a book of guidance, many of the Jewish apostles like Hazrat Zakaria, Yahya and Uzair, etc. had to follow the Torah. Some of them partly succeeded in their mission, but quite a few of them were disowned as impostors and rejected. Some of them were even murdered. Verse number 155, Surah Al-Nisa. The two great religions of the world came into existence, but they too were corrupted in course of time by the followers of Satan, and they got split up in various sects. Some of them upheld creeds which amounted to disbelief in the unity of Allah. The Christian church capitulated to the pagan Greek polytheism and ideology. It had completely forsaken the pure monotheist religion or Hazrat Ibrahim, even as expounded later by Hazrat Isa. The followers of Hazrat Isa put their foot on their church and originated the theory of crucifixion. The masses were given to idolatry, angelolatry, Christolatry, Trinity, dualism, polytheism and monotheistic polytheism. Some had even become naturalists and atheists, but still somehow the belief generally persisted among them that there was a powerful God, the most important of all gods, who lived among skies and who had the power of creation and destruction, and who should be appeased to maintain normal conditions on earth. They would readily admit that it was this God, Allah, who was the Lord and owner of the earth and its contents and of the seven skies, and who was the Lord of great power. They would also admit that He was the administrator of the universe. Verse number 84 to 89, Surah Al-Nisa. This creed was known as henotheism. It implied belief in one God without asserting that He was the only God. This God was known as different epithets in different languages. The Arabs called Him Allah and conjured all supernatural powers and attributes with His name. The word Allah is not exhaustively translatable. It may be interpreted as the great, the exalted, the mighty and the gracious. The Arabs venerated Him very much, and more particularly because of the Kaaba, His symbolic house of Makkah, which they highly adored and held sacred even in ancient times. Though pagans, they circumambulated it in all seasons, particularly because it housed their idols, etc., which claimed most of their veneration. This was the stage when the primitive monotheistic religion taught to the Hazrat Adam and fostered and reinforced by various apostles stood at crossroads at the advent of the Prophet of Islam, who under the divine inspiration and guidance salvaged it, purged it of the innovations and sacrileges and perfected it in its present form and under its present name, the Islam. It is mainly the digest of truths and facts that were pronounced by the early prophets in the history of mankind. Naturally so, because primarily the fundamentals of the religions prescribed by Allah are the same. To facilitate His mission, Allah imparted guidance to the Prophet as each occasions required during 23 years through revelations which collectively make up the present Quran. Its language and punctuations, as well as the order in which the various verses have been said, are absolutely the same as revealed to the Prophet, peace be upon him, who merely rehearsed the revelations verbatim and got them recorded accordingly. Later, he got them arranged in the present order as per the divine instructions.